The Republicans are, for the most part, against the president's stimulus package. And many Republicans are saying they are doing the right thing, that it is a win. I want to let you hear something now. This is John McCain this weekend talking about President Obama. Let's listen to that.
It was a bad beginning because it wasn't what we promised the American people, what President Obama promised the American people, that we would sit down together. But I appreciate the fact that the president came over to talk to Republicans. That's not how you negotiate a result. You sit down together in a room with competing proposals. Almost all of our proposals went down on a party line vote.
All right, that's John McCain over the weekend. I want to introduce you now to Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. She's a Republican from Tennessee. Congresswoman, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Do you agree with John McCain? He's essentially saying he's off to a bad start, this president.
Well, it would have been nice had Republicans been included in the negotiations, but the Democrat-led House and Senate, neither chamber really involved Republicans in the negotiations. And so from that standpoint, yes, being involved in the process, producing a bill that was truly a stimulus bill and not a spending bill would have been a positive step.
You call it a spending bill and not a stimulus, but yet the American people seem to be differing with you. I'm going to take you through a couple of polls here,
Sure.
And I'm going to ask you if you think your party is swimming upstream on this. Let's start with CNN. CNN has it at 54% in favor that the American people think the stimulus plan will work. Let's go to Gallup. They're at 59%. Pew has it at 51%, and CBS has it at 51%. Question, are you swimming upstream?
I don't think we're swimming upstream at all on this, because what has concerned the American people is the fact that there is so much long-term spending in this. They're very concerned about what they see as the deficit for this year growing and what is happening with our accrued debt, our national debt. And, Rick, the interesting thing on this is the American people will tell you, look, we want something done right now. We want some action. So, therefore, they wanted to see a bill passed. The more they learn about the long-term spending in this bill, they're asking questions, and they're very concerned about that, as are we.
And I understand that, and I think most Americans understand that, but I have to ask you a question about this, just to be fair. Let me take you through some of the things that happened during the Bush administration. Mr. Bush was handed a surplus of $127 billion. He left the United States, of which you and I are citizens, with a deficit of $455 billion. Mr. Clinton left him with a $5 trillion debt. Mr. Bush took it to $10 trillion. Where was Marsha Blackburn when that was going on?
Well, I'm one of those that felt like the Bush administration spent too much money. But let's back up and look at these numbers. You mentioned the $5 trillion debt, and
Right.
then it went to $10.7 trillion as of January 3rd. No, but listen to this, Rick. When you go back and look at January 2007, when the Democrats took control of both houses of Congress, the accrued debt, the national debt, was at $8.3 trillion. Now, in the 2 years that the Democrats had control, they moved that to 10.7. When you look at the debt that we have so far, the deficit we have so far this year, the pre-TARP and TARP has given us a $1.1 trillion deficit. Add to that the $1.2 trillion that we are going to see come from the Plan B, which is the Obama plan. Now, we're already over $2 trillion for the year. We have not done the omnibus, which is going to be another $500 billion. And you're talking about the deficit that Bush had of being $400 billion. We're already going to be pushing $3 trillion in deficit, which will be added to our debt.
The statement from the president is, you guys put me here. Republicans, under a president who was Republican and a House and a Senate that were Republicans, gave me this. I inherited it. I'm only having to increase this because of that. And there's a couple other examples, because I've been reading today that I went to your website and you itemized a couple of things that you thought were improper spending, to which you are probably correct. Let me give you a couple others here. I'm reading from 2005, nearly $9 billion. $9 billion in Iraqi funds unaccounted for, part of reconstruction. Nobody knows where the money went. Apparently it was given to ghost employees. Here's another one. This is from last October. $1.2 billion to train Iraqi police officers. Taxpayer money unaccounted for. Nobody can find where that went. You know, the thing Americans want from both parties, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter, is, I think, consistency. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they were spending too much before, why are we only calling them out now?
I've been calling them out repeatedly and have been aggressive on calling for oversight and investigation, whether it was through these funds or through different agencies such as FDA and the Federal Trade Commission, different agencies that we have. But Rick, the thing is, people do know that the federal government is spending a lot of money and is wasting a lot of money, and I agree with that, and that is why I have been fighting waste, fraud, and abuse since day one in Congress.
Both parties. Both parties.
Yes. And both parties do. Both parties spend too much. And the problem is that right now there is so much money that is being spent. If you thought a $400 billion deficit was too much with President Bush, and I agree, that was too much. My goodness gracious, a $3 trillion deficit with President Obama and the Democrat-led House and Senate, that is far, far, far too much. And that's what we have so far this year.
Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, it was an absolute pleasure having this discussion with you. I felt it was like an interesting exchange. Can we do it again?
Absolutely. Be happy to talk with you again.
Love to have you
Thank you so much
on.
for your interest in the issue.
I appreciate it. And the American people's interest in this case, and all these folks out here watching us now. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's do a quick check of what you guys are saying about that interview I just did with the Congresswoman. Let's go to MySpace. All I heard from Representative Marsha Clark was blah, 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 blah. Nothing is my fault, blah, blah. Okay, that's one opinion. Flip it, if you would. Let's go over to Twitter. The GOP wrote Bush a blank check in the cost plus war in Iraq, making profiteers rich. Now spending is too much. Huh? And what else? Awesome glasses, Rick. Thank you very much.